Richard,
It might have
how
been.
was it?
Just I don't think it's funny.
Okay.
How was it on the PGs? Did you have fun?
How was it on the what?
The PG show, the Power Guys. Last time I
Proverbs
saw,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, did I have fun? I always have fun. Um, I mean, I like talking to people about these things, whether they agree with me or not. But it's really just a conversation about what's most rational to believe about the stories that we see around us. At least in an internal critique. Of course, their comparison to reality is another question.
Oh. Have you ever talked to Phantom before?
I think in chat.
Yeah, we've chatted. I don't think I've ever been on a panel with you before.
No, I don't think so. It's
Well,
good to put a voice with the name, though.
Yeah.
last time we had a round table guy on here. Lions
A,
Dilemma guy?
a round table guy. Was
Yeah,
his
Yeah.
name Circumference?
No, it's Roundtable Media.
yeah.
You guys
He
never
was,
heard that joke about the biggest knight of King Arthur?
yeah,
Circumference?
yeah.
Oh, no, I
No,
haven't heard that one.
I haven't heard it, but that was good. I like bad word jokes.
It's a
Oh,
great dad joke, right?
Hmm.
he was on here talking with Angry Teddy Bear for a while, right? Angry Teddy Bear?
What were the assertions and conclusions, and what was the argument?
I forgot. They were talking a lot about on here. Do you remember Angry Teddy Bear? I think he's JFK right now, but yeah, they were on.
You think he's JFK?
Yeah,
Oh, crap. We're going to hit the ground and we get shot. No, I'm just getting ready to let the dogs out, which takes about 10, 15 minutes. And I heard you say something.
What's out?
A lot of what we just talked about was in generalizations. Then he tried to walk me through some prophecies of the Old Testament, which, of course, we hit a roadblock pretty quick since, I mean, I am not a Hebrew scholar at all, but neither was he. But I've got the stuff in front of me of many scholars about, gosh, I can't remember which one it was now. Oh, the Second Kings, the she bear ones.
Oh, yeah, that's
The
right.
story of
Because
Elijah versus Elijah. Very
No,
interesting stuff.
he was saying, if I remember correctly, he was saying that the Antichrist would be Elisha.
Yeah, that's correct. I wonder how he got to that.
You'll have to ask him. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I just remember him
if you
saying
dig
that
into the etymology of the words, you know the word Jah, Jah, or however you want to spell it, meaning Jehovah or God. So Elisha and Elijah, like Elijah means, my God is Yahweh or Jehovah, and then Elisha, the root of that is my God is materialism.
Yeah, I think he said something about that, like that. Yeah.
Oh, he's right. Good for him.
So this ties into something that a friend of mine told me that I have never heard before.
A friend of mine told me I had a sister who looked just fine.
And
While he's singing, I'm
I
taking
would
my
have
dogs outside
just
so they can wash their
brushed.
behinds. Be back.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Singing's not that good. What's that, Deviant? I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, a friend of mine told me that the Son of Man was Antichrist,
Some people hold
and
to that, sure.
and the I know that there is one. I think it's one. I shouldn't say I know because I obviously don't. But I think one of the
If we want to talk about what no means, and who has the righteous claim of knowing a thing, I mean, we could get into that.
let's hold off on that point for now.
Okay.
No, but that one of the the Old Testament prophets, and I think it's either Elijah or Elisha,
Yeah.
who is called by God the Son of Man.
Yeah, that would be Elijah, meaning
Ja.
God is or Yahweh is my God. Um, yeah, that would not be Elisha.
Okay. Hmm. So then it doesn't, because I was thinking, oh, maybe there was something to what, because I've never heard of it, and most people in Sweden aren't very well read on the Bible.
Eh,
But
yeah,
his mom is a priest.
his mom
So
is a priest in some kind of excuse me, some kind of Christian church. Yeah, that's your point.
yes, so
Okay.
which is why if he says something like that, I'm going to assume it's something that he's gotten
He's
from
probably
her.
pretty well versed, at least
Yeah,
by default, having no choice grown up in it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's usually relatively reliable. Yeah, there's actually 4 places in the Bible where wild animals are called to attack the children of God. That's in the book of Ezekiel, and quoted by the quote unquote God there, a quote of the quote unquote God there. Also in First Samuel, and Goliath quotes it. Also in the book of Revelation, directly saying that Satan, which Satan would be the source of such an idea, being the highest evil, Satan says that he's going to do that. And then, of course, Elisha actually does it, calling she-bears out of the woods to maul to death innocent, probably teenagers.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, so it makes sense to me that the one whose God is materialism
Hmm.
uh, actually calls wild animals, the beast of the field, to attack the children of Israel, that is, children of God, and does so in real time and real action, and not just threatening to do it. Of course, there's a lot of Christians that think that Elisha is a good and wholesome prophet, because he is doubled in power over Elijah, which you would expect to be true of the Antichrist.
You would expect the Antichrist to be doubled in
Twice
power
as
over.
power as an old story written in a book.
Oh, okay.
I mean, to the people. You know what I'm saying? Not in actual power, but in perceptual power,
Gotcha.
persuasion, things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Because people think it's just a silly old fairy tale, But what's that, Deviant? You had a
Yeah.
thought. I know you did, and I interrupted.
I did. Wasn't it? Doesn't it say in the Bible that he prays to God to smite or punish these children, and God is the one who
Yes, the
calls
God
on the
does that.
bears.
That's correct. And that's not the first time that the Bible calls Satan a god. It refers to Satan as being the temporary god of this world. Throughout the book of Ezekiel, authored by Satan, he calls himself a god repeatedly. I don't know how many times, like 30 different times.
But wasn't Elisha like mentored by Elijah and chosen by Elijah to be his successor?
Yes, Jesus, the character represented by Elijah, does help in the selection of the Antichrist. Yeah, good observation. Solid.
So when apologists are defending the mauling of these children as
They are
something good,
retarded.
well, yes, and I just wanted that confirmed because
Yeah, they didn't do their homework.
no,
They have no idea what they're talking about. An actual, and I'm not a scholar, but an actual scholar who took this stuff seriously would go and look these things up and go, well, why is that like that? That doesn't really make sense to me. And then go find out. In fact, anytime you're reading something, within ancient scriptures, no matter the religious story or the foundational people that originated the story, whenever something doesn't make sense within itself, really should do some research.
Yes.
I mean, it's like we sit here and we read, novel after novel by Stephen King. And we look at that and we go, oh yeah, it's all coherent within itself. Well, that's because Stephen King, and then there's of course editors and stuff. A small group of people kind of keeps it all in line and keeps it working together, and so it doesn't defeat itself. But the Bible was considered, and other religions were considered, the Word of God. You think they didn't have somebody double checking it? Of course they had somebody double checking it. So there should be no part of it that argues with some other part of it. And if there's some kind of an apparent conflict from within the story, the problem is the reader, not the text.
Yeah, but at the same time, the books that are in the Bible today has been chosen by people, and I'm not saying this to go against what you said, rather give an extra perspective of it.
Sounds like a new argument.
Uh,
I mean, compared to what we were just saying, not new to me.
no, but because it's been the books that are in there has been selected, and they have been selected instead of other texts that we know used to be like apocrypha and
Sure.
whatnot, that didn't make it. And I think that is it's not necessarily simply because these are the texts that are closest to the truth. Because
First, I'd like to remind you that I really enjoy talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Deviant, are you familiar with any painting artist whatsoever?
Many.
Many.
Yes.
Could you name probably the one you're most familiar with their work?
I would have to say probably Alphonse Mucha or Gauguin. Not Gauguin, Van Gogh.
Okay, so let's take a name everyone knows, Van Gogh.
Mhm.
Okay, so Van Gogh, lots of paintings, and quite some time ago. Do you think that you have seen enough Van Gogh that that you would recognize one were it found today?
No.
But you couldn't do that. Do you think there's people who can do that?
Possibly, but
Possibly.
not definitely. Because he
Well,
didn't always paint the same. The painting developed over time.
Mm-hmm.
well, so can I butt in real quick?
Mhm.
Would you say possibly in that there's possibly someone who could say this is a Van Gogh painting, or possibly it's that it could be identified correctly versus someone that had just painted in the style of Van Gogh?
What I'd like to see is someone who is such a fan and such a student that they would never mistake some kind of a counterfeit for an actual Van Gogh, and they would recognize even the progressions and the development of a painting by Van Gogh, even if it started relatively simple and was nothing near the finished product.
Okay, I would say that if the person had the ability to see the painting in real life, so not just a picture of it,
Well, whatever they
and
need.
study it, then yes, absolutely.
Yeah, let's say they had the most modern techniques. They actually had a
Oh yeah, no.
microscope. They had chemical analysis. They had light spectral analysis. for chemistry, within the pigmentation. They knew how to test the canvas. They had access to, say, carbon dating. They just
I
had
mean,
everything they needed.
yeah, no question about it. There are such people.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay. All right. So we agree that there are people who are capable of that kind of recognition
Absolutely.
of a certain
Yeah,
artist.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm that expert, but not on Van Gogh. I'm only that expert on ancient spiritual stories. So here's how I know something is a counterfeit. A counterfeit is going to contain things the artist would not have done. It's going to use methods and usage of words that look like the original artist. That is an imitation, of course, a very close imitation of the original artist. But here's what they're going to do. A counterfeiter is going to, how could I say this as a painting? A counterfeit, and I brought up the example, which makes it completely my fault that I've now trapped myself. A counterfeiter is going to paint their impression of Van Gogh. They're not going to paint actual Van Gogh. They would miss out on certain things. So in the false stories that I know are false, it follows the formulation of the other stories. It looks like and smells like, even to some extent, it tastes like the other stories. But here's what it's missing. It's missing the observations of Shakespeare, that it's written on multiple depths simultaneously, and there is a deepest understanding of the story, which every story has the same understanding, and that is always coordinated across time, space, geography, across peoples, and that never fails. And they can't imitate that, because if they did try to imitate that, it would be flavored by their impression, what their eye saw in a Van Gogh. So that the way that they write it doesn't include that reading frame.
So, well, go ahead, Devian, if you have any questions.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I don't disagree to anything that you said there, Richard, but I don't really think that's not really what I was talking about, or where I was
I thought you were
going.
asking, how do you know which ones to include?
No, rather
Because you
that,
said there were some that should have been included that weren't.
no, that could have, but weren't. That could have
That's
been.
what I said you said. How was that? How was I wrong in what I understood you to be asking?
Should have.
What's that?
I thought you said should have, so I corrected the should have to the could have.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
A fine distinction, a small point that I'd missed. Yeah.
Yeah, but no.
But what I'm saying is it can't be included.
I believe that they were chosen, the texts that were chosen, because from what I know, we as a collective, humanity, the scholarship, whatever, know that there were texts that were used by the early church that
Sure.
were then not incorporated into the 66 books that we today call the Bible.
Well, there's more than
and
one
I
reason
think
for that,
that
right?
they could have been chosen not necessarily based on which was the truest one, but because of what they said, the message they had. These books were collected by men of power, and
Yes.
I think that is very much part of that fact is very much part of the selection process. I can't say how or point to specific like this show this. It's just my general like layman, but with some insight into how systems of power usually express themselves, if that makes sense.
Well, okay, so there's actually a few criteria, and you may notice that of possible Bibles or historical Bibles, 66 books is small.
Yes.
You probably already knew that. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think some of what they were trying to do, discluding the four Gospels, which are all relatively short, is they were trying not to use anything repetitive, to keep the book as small as possible, because part of the idea was to take it out of the hands of the church and put it in the hands of the commoner, or the more common, who are still literate.
No, I would say
You don't
no
think
to
so?
that. No, I because of the fact that uh, it was placed in the hand of the commoner when Gutenberg printed the Bible in German,
Yeah.
and
What,
that
what
was
was
in
the
the
approximate year of that, if you happen to know? I've never looked it up.
1490s, say 1498 or something like that, and uh, the Bible, the 66 books that are in the Bible now, was decided upon in one of the early church councils. I'm not sure it was necessarily Nicaea, but
Well, I know it wasn't Catholic. The Catholic canon has First and Second Maccabees, Second Ruth, lots of other books. I think it's something like
I will.
81 or 87 total books, not 66. No, the Ethiopian canon is 87. The Catholic, I think, is 81.
Let's see.
So I know
I
King
might
James
be.
is not Catholic.
No, 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 no. That we know.
Well, I
uh,
mean, what were these councils that decided on 66 books that were able to that long ago overpower or route around the Catholic Church? Who was that?
Well, the I mean the Protestants, that was part of the Protestants.
That would make sense. Yeah. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I mean, I'm just no fan of history whatsoever. I think it's pretty darn irrelevant, and it's just, stupid monkey tricks.
Well, I mean, well, okay, so like the 66 books that are in the Protestant Bible was done by the Protestants after they had like started breaking away from the Catholic
After the
Church.
schism. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, I had that completely mixed up in my head. It happens.
Yeah,
Oh
life's
no,
like
I'm
that. Can
fallible.
you fix it? But can you fix it for me? Because I'm trying to learn from you.
Oh, you shouldn't learn from me when I'm
I learn
wrong.
from everyone I speak to.
You
So
should only. Oh, then what you can learn is that uh, I'm not a Bible scholar,
that's okay.
and um, PTSD is very detrimental to the memory.
Could you just discovered something that corrected your memory? Could you
Yeah.
share it with me so that I can correct my understanding of it too?
Uh, no, the fact that the Catholic Bibles. Okay, so what I was going, uh, what what I used to assemble the memory of my previous statement that it was these early councils had to do with the fact that those councils were the ones that kind of how do you say, not unified the church, but made
Standardized?
standardized. Thank you. Standardized it and decided on, for instance, the creed and so on and so forth. And
That's fairly true.
my memory wanted to say that this also included the text, but then you said, and Phantom acknowledged that fact, that the Catholic Bible actually has more books,
Yes,
and so does the Orthodox.
true story.
So it had to have been much later, which
Yep.
which leads me to the conclusion, of course, that I was wrong. My the tiny parts of my memory that built the previous statement was flawed, and I am not surprised, but very thankful.
Well, we live and we keep going forward and figure stuff out. Hopefully, yeah. Whenever I end up at a family reunion, I really appreciate that because my siblings and whomever are going to go, nope, you're remembering this, this, and this wrong, and then I can correct it, which is good.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so all right, so what make you of the assertion that the true stories that belong there are have a certain set of ideas that they must include in order to be a genuine story and not just something proposed by man as the Word of God. Um, and that if a person dedicated enough time, they would learn how to discern that and no longer have that apparent conflicting problem of which books do and don't belong.
So to kind of circumvent the direct question, but hopefully land at the best answer I can give. uh, because my brain instantly goes to uh, the fact that in the not testament, damn it, deviant, uh, the gospels, the four
Yeah,
gospels,
yeah,
when uh, when the tomb after Jesus has been laid to rest,
uh huh.
when the tomb is visited, the gospels does not give. I can't say that none of them are. I know there are at least 3 different versions and
Yeah,
not 4.
yeah.
Not and they should be the same. There should
Why?
be no, because it is it is played out. If you go by, if you go by the assertion that these are things that has happened in reality here on earth by
Mm-hmm.
actual people back in history, uh,
Yeah.
and these are accurate accounts of what happened,
Uh
there
huh.
should be no question whether or not the stone was there when whoever came there. There should be no question of who went to the, was it just one, were they 3, were there a whole gaggle of them,
Oh, I love
was
the word
there
gaggle.
one
I was hoping you would choose that one. I was actually. I was thinking gaggle. Let her say gaggle
Thank you. Um,
rather than say Congress. You know.
yes. Ugh, Congress is a boring word.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So why do you assert it should be the same?
I asserted, if I go by the presumption that it actually was, if I explain it like this, if I go outside now, there either is or is not snow, or
It's
even
a
better,
true dichotomy. Yeah.
yeah, So
Yeah.
when I then write down what happened when I went outside and I described the milieu I'm looking at, I can't give one account saying there is snow and one saying, oh, it's springtime.
What if it were on different days? What if it were 4 months apart? Could
Hold
you
on.
then?
Are you saying that you're implying that the time they went to the tomb was different,
Dang.
like months apart?
Smart people always jumping ahead in the conversation. Yeah. Actually, I have no problem with there being 4 conflicting accounts. Where if I just dismiss tradition of Christianity and read it for what it says it's 4 different events. It's obviously 4 different events. Any more than if I would be self-contradictory for saying I was in the park and saw a sky blue bicycle and there was a little girl riding it. I was in the park and saw a sky blue bicycle and there was an old white guy riding it. I am not necessarily a liar unless you assume I mean the same person.
Or the same bicycle at the same time?
Exactly, precisely. So it's just, and this is why law is designed the way, why police interviews go the way they do, why they ask the kinds of questions they ask, is to eliminate those possibilities and make sure that the people are talking about the same event. And what does it sound like if people are talking about different events? Well, there's different details. And certainly if they were meant to all say the same thing, argument from Stephen King, they would say the same things. I mean, you can find it. I can find the discrepancies. Seems everyone's found them. Yep, we are brilliant compared to everyone who assembled the Bible. Congratulations, we're all mega geniuses. Or it's different on purpose.
Yes, and I think it's actually different on purpose.
I'm inclined to agree.
But maybe we don't agree necessarily about the reason. I won't say that I have a
Let's talk about
definitive
the
reason,
why.
but I have a suspected reason.
And what is your suspected reason, if you would?
The fact that giving contradictory claims as absolute truth is one way of manipulation.
Yes, where humans normally make mistakes, if mistakes are made, it can be read as a sign of honesty, something like that.
No, so
No.
when
Okay.
when a person goes, or I mean that's not what I meant. I'm not saying it's what you said is false. I'm saying that's not what I meant.
I understood the difference. You didn't have to
Okay,
describe
good.
it, but thank you. It's very nice of you. Very kind.
Thank you. I do my best, or I try. No, when we look at cults or even just interpersonal destructive relationships, when you are being exposed to contradictory claims from someone, from the one and the same individual, as being the truth, your mind, your brain, your psyche has difficulty to incorporate that into their understood reality,
Of course.
which for a moment
Which they
makes
should.
them more vulnerable to suggestions and to accept those suggestions as true that they otherwise wouldn't have.
So you went big nefarious on me on that
Oh
one.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, you already know. I don't have to tell you that you're not wrong. That actually happens in human brains.
Yes.
Um, but
I'm not saying this
if
is absolutely why. I have a
well, how would
suspicion
we
that
know the difference? As
I
I
would.
said, I'm interested in what's most likely the answer,
Hmm.
considering the information we have at
Hmm.
all times.
Hmm.
That's what I'm interested in.
So then I would say the evidence would be in the actual uh, things like the power the church has over people, the power that is in the power to control humanity or and individual humans that is in um, monotheistic religions, specifically monotheistic religions, but religions at large.
So that's the evidence I would expect.
The-
Yeah.
yeah, it's one, at
Okay.
least one
Is
of
there
them.
anything else you can think of?
Uh, well, it would be that we know the different accounts were written by men. They are said to be inspired by God, but they were written by men. We know that. And
No, you don't. I wish people would quit saying things they don't actually know as things they know. You do not know that.
well, we do we do know that. So okay, they were maybe not authored. We can't say who authored them because we don't know
No,
who
I
authored
heard
them.
what you said, and I'm not strawmanning
But
your position. You said scribed by. You said men
yes,
scribed it. Okay.
yes.
Love to see that shown.
How?
Yeah,
How?
great. Great question. How would you
And
show that?
well, I was going to say then, Richard, you show her, the same thing from your point of view because it'd be just as valid.
That would be
But I
fair.
think, you
Well,
know,
That
it
would be
would be
fair, right? Turnabout be fair play, right?
right.
Okay. So I think that if a person said, and this would be outside of an internal critique, that what the text must have been was written by mankind because it says that it's inspired of God, then we have thrown away the possibility in that of any angel having written it. Have we not?
Sure, but the manuscripts that we have are not the original manuscripts. So we cannot say anything about the original manuscripts
Well,
because we know that in churches, the only way you could multiply a book back
sorry, I
then.
thought you meant the originals. Wherever they got lost in time, however they got lost in time, and all of us aware we don't have signature copies of any originals anywhere. I thought you were referring to those. Now, if you want to
No,
talk about what is written, well, that's an entirely different claim. That makes your first claim absolutely pointless, and not
how
having any
so?
deeper meaning than human
How
beings
so?
transcribed. But we all grant that human beings transcribed.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that
But
that
what was
is
the point in
that
bringing it up if you meant human
that
beings transcribed?
because those are the only texts we have. So we have
But
nothing
that's
else
not
to
the
go
question.
on.
The question is the origin point.
But we can't say anything about the origin point. We
Well,
cannot
we
know
have the
and
stories, right?
yeah,
Okay, so we can say things about the origin point.
yeah,
Like
they
we can
appeared
identify
somewhere at
approximately
some point.
when, very close to where. We can actually
But
say quite a bit.
if if we were to propose that um, they were written by, say, God Himself, they could have been done so whenever, however, and wherever, and because God knows everything. So we
I,
cannot
I,
point to
I,
specific things that we
the
usually look at
only
in a
problem is
text
the
to
Bible doesn't
determine its
claim that,
age.
and I don't believe that God knows everything. And the
No, I don't think God knows anything because I don't believe in God. So
Well, I believe in God, and I believe that the Bible is saying God doesn't know anything. So it's not exactly a true dichotomy.
of course not.
There's other options. Um, okay, so here are some things that a person, I think, could expect to see if the original stories were not written by man, neither in authorship nor scribalship. There would be some things you'd expect to see. Some of those things would be like a universal message from a singular God given to all people. I mean, that would be fair, right? If the God is the God of all people, the God is the God of the whole earth, all the people of the earth are then thereby God's. I'll say creation, although that's not perfectly accurate. And all would be treated the same without human prejudice and frailty. Can we grant that?
Probably.
Okay, if it's a God, I think it has to be not subject to those kinds of human problems, else it's not a God. If that sounds rational and reasonable.
You're saying no God could be subject to human problems?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a God.
So what is a God to you?
To me, the God is
Not the
the
God, just define. I'm asking for a definition of a God. Not a
a
specific
definition
God,
of an
What is
undefined
a
God.
Mhm.
yeah, of a God.
Well, by most people's standards, which is different from mine, which I was going to give mine, so I assume you want other people's standards, which I think you
No,
already know.
no, I'm asking for yours, but I'm not asking for the definition of your God, but just what would make it a God? Like if there were two gods, what would they be?
Um, Immutable, um, objectively the most beneficial for human flourishing.
Uh,
That is
hold
a
on,
servant of man.
hold
That
on,
is-
everybody. Oh, sorry. Josh, join us. Hi, Josh.
Oh, hey Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Hello?
Hi,
Hi.
Josh.
How are you?
I'm sorry for all the noise if it's really loud. I'm sorry. Just there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
all right.
it's really bad, but we're happy to have you here, or I am at least, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
make all the other ones accept that fact.
Still worse
It's
than them
Yeah,
fine.
listening
It's
to you
no.
fine,
talk,
Deviant. I
Josh.
like Josh.
yeah, Josh.
I'm here whether they like it or not. I don't like this demolished guy though. I'll be honest. I don't.
Why?
That's okay. You don't have to.
No, I didn't. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna like hate you either. But I did want to ask you about that accidentally correct or something. We talked about it last time, but we never got to finish it. So if you get a moment, can you explain? Can you break that down for me? You know what I'm talking about?
If you don't mind me being rude, somebody had already asked something and it hadn't been answered.
Take your time. Whenever, before you leave, if you could just bring me up to speed with that accidentally correct or concept you had.
Okay, I might ask you to refresh my memory what exactly you're talking about. I talked to a lot of folks. So Phantom, what was the topic you brought up?
I was asking what's your definition of a God? What would makes a being qualify as a God?
Okay, I don't know about this being part. I don't think a being should be a god to humans because humans aren't
Well,
meant to worship beings.
Well,
But
a being is anything that exists. So if a God exists, it's a being.
okay, you didn't mean personage. You were being exacting. Thanks for the clarification. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as what I understand is true about human beings, we have to really, perform a lot of mental gymnastics in order to worship a living singular entity. It just seems absolutely against our nature to me, and I don't see any ancient religious story on this earth describing such a personage. Now something technically, like you said, having being, that is, it exists. A rock has being. Pliers have being. It is not the same thing. So what I do see being described is a perfect set of immaterial constructs for human flourishing. That's what I see described. Now, is it anthropomorphized and differently depending on culture? Yeah, absolutely. But I've also caught Richard Dawkins anthropomorphizing cellular activity, because our language is just limited that way, and you run out of ways to say a certain thing, and you end up saying things like the cell wants to. Well, cells don't want things. They don't work like that.
Sure.
Or that gravity tends to or wants to pull things toward the larger object, smaller things toward larger objects. But of course that's just a limit of the language. It's not scientifically or technically correct, nor is it correct in these ancient scriptural stories that God wants things or desires things.
Okay.
I think it's just a limit of the language.
So for you, God doesn't necessarily have intention?
Yeah, no, there is no intention in a set of immaterial constructs. It doesn't have wants, needs, desires, thoughts, feelings, any of that stuff.
So it's more like a process.
A process. Well, it's the Bible uses the word spirit, and it describes the seven spirits of God. And if you review those, they are literally immaterial constructs. In fact, everything that it directly says about the God is all describing immaterial constructs, like love, empathy, wisdom, knowledge, counsel, understanding, fear, power, conservation. These are all immaterial constructs.
Right, but what I'm saying is, you said it doesn't have thoughts, it doesn't have feelings, so
Right.
it doesn't have intention. So it's more like an automatic process. Is that what you're saying? Is that what a God
Automatic
is?
process. No, there has to be intellectuals who value it, who do have personage, able to interact with reality, exercising God onto the reality. That's why you have the angel of God, the Father, Jesus, etc., etc. If it wasn't for the immutability, unchangingness, and inability of God to interact with the physical reality, then you wouldn't need the Father, the Son, angels, blah, 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 blah. God would just do it.
So is it like it's like the Force
The Force.
from like Star Wars?
No, it's more like the Constitution of the United States.
Okay.
It's just the perfect set of immaterial constructs for human flourishing. And literally, wisdom, knowledge, counsel, understanding, fear, power, and conservation, and the perfect application of all those things and all the repercussions thereof. Things like love, empathy, understanding. I mean, it's pretty much a list that doesn't end.
Okay. So it's like I think I'm kind of getting what you're saying when you say.
And I can show you that in the book of Isaiah. It's not my guesswork. It's literally what the text says about itself. As one example, the Bible says it.
So
Can you give that? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Phantom. Sorry.
so when the Bible personifies God,
Yeah.
what do you think it's doing there? Is that metaphor?
It's just a linguistic. What's the correct term? It's a linguistic tool.
Sure, but what I'm
That's
saying
all.
is like, what would, when I personify gravity wanting to pull things in, I am
Right.
saying I'm trying to relate something that's actually happened,
Sure.
right? When the Bible personifies God doing some or wanting something, what is that? What are they trying to relate there?
Good question. I like your question. You're thinking. What is it trying to relate there? Well, that heaven has a purpose, that the Father is the number one representative of God, that angels will be doing certain things in a certain order, and all of it to our benefit at the specific time.
Okay, so you think God is like kind of and some ideals, but the
Yeah, it's
Father
a set
is
of ideals. I literally listed them to you.
yeah
And
yeah
if
yeah
you heard
yeah
me, they are ideals, and it's exactly out of the Bible, precisely what the Bible says about itself.
right. So
Okay.
so God is a set of ideals, but the Father is an actual agent.
Right. There have been living beings with personage, such as angels, the Father, the Son,
Okay.
who interact with reality, believing that God is worth performing.
Okay.
We
So
could discuss whether or not they're delusional or if it's accurate, but that's another topic.
sure. So is the Father, so when the Bible, when most people, like most Christians, talk about God, they're talking about, say, the Father and maybe and Jesus and the Holy Spirit and the Trinity, and that's, I don't know what you're where
That's
you
why
stand
they're
on this.
confused, because they can't read.
Sure. But they're talking about those agents.
Yes, they
Um
are.
and like one of the things about those agents is they are omniscient. Do you think they're omniscient?
There is no claim of omniscience any more than if I said, I know that your name is Phantom, thereby I know everything about you. Well,
Okay.
that's just ridiculous. Every claim within the Bible is qualified situationally, such as, I know every hair on David's head. Well, that's not a claim of knowing everybody's head and every hair on everyone's head. It's just not there.
Sure. Okay.
And besides, that's a claim of the Father speaking of his knowledge of the one who's chosen, which has nothing to do with the knowledge of God, because God doesn't have knowledge. Only living persons have knowledge.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I understand what you mean when you say God. And so I'm not talking about God now. I'm talking about the Father. Or
Roger that. I'll try
uh,
to bear that in mind and remember.
so uh was reality created by an agent, or the universe created by an agent?
I personally think that all the ancient religions, despite anthropomorphization of the God constructs, are actually describing a steady state with changing pockets.
Okay.
Like our expanding universe, or the expansion that we see, extrapolates out to the unknowable universe from the knowable universe. But it's a lot more likely that the knowable universe, although it is expanding, is only a pocket of space expanding, and not representative of everything everywhere. I mean, like if I asked you, beyond the cosmic microwave background radiation wall, that we cannot see beyond, how big is the rest of the cosmos? Well, we can't know, because we can't see beyond that, right?
Right.
So what percentage are we looking at? 100%?
There's
1/1 billionth. What if we're seeing 1/1 billionth, and what we've got here is a crap sample?
Yeah. The only thing we can say
Okay.
about it is we're seeing more than 0%.
Yeah, we're seeing more than zero. Well said. We can say that.
Okay, I don't really have any more questions that popped to mind. Do you remember what Josh's question was?
I never knew what Josh's question was.
Oh,
Josh, what was your question? Are you there, Josh?
Hello, hello, hello. Is anybody in there?
Oh, he must.
I was trying to write it down, and I guess I got sidetracked and didn't write it down, so I can't remind you.
Just smile if you can hear us, Josh. Is there anyone home?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we're talking.
You talking to me?
What was your question for?
Are you talking to me? Because I'm talking to you.
What was your question for Richard?
I really wish I could do Christopher Walken right there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, this guy doesn't know anything about God or the Trinity, but that's besides the point. My question is, last time you said that we can never have objective truth or subjective truth, something like that. And then you said that I could be accidentally correct.
Of course we could be accidentally correct, like in Gettier cases are examples of people being accidentally correct. That is, they're correct, but for all the wrong reasons. And no, I don't think that I know things, and I don't think that you know things, and I don't think that either one of us have an objective view of anything. It's subjective with our own brain, through our own senses. So, but you don't need me to theorize these things. You can just pick up any book on philosophy, and it will confirm everything I'm saying and do a better job of explaining it.
Okay,
I've been down that road with Descartes about, I think therefore I am, that the only objective thing that we can know is that in order for us to be here arguing about whether or not we know anything, we must exist.
We can't assume all we can say is experience. And I can make that into a sentence. Experience happens. But that's really as far as any of us can go.
So saying I think it's not
too
correct?
far. You can't actually say I, because you don't know that.
Well, it depends on
So
what
how
you
do
mean
you
by
just?
I.
So who's experiencing what?
Good question, but but because of your question and its fundamentals, we do know that there is experience, and that's the last thing we can say. Everything else is subjective.
So then you're wrong, because just now you've admitted that there is one thing we can know objectively.
No, we can't know that. It just objectively must exist.
So we objectively know that something exists.
No, we subjectively know that something must objectively exist, even if we can't experience it.
You lost me, Phantom. Take over. I'm done. I can't do it.
I mean, it's the entire reason why there's a theory of solipsism, is because these things can't be actually shown.
Yeah.
So I'm not just making it up. I'm not just pulling it out of my butt or something. It's standard stuff.
I would push back on saying, I mean, it depends on what you mean by I, and I guess but experience. You're right. We can say experiences happen, and
Right,
any more than that we can't.
Yeah, everything after that's experimental and personal and subjective. I mean, I like to, when people ask me things, and if they're being philosophically accurate, I'll say things like, I'm thoroughly persuaded. I won't say I know. Because that's just ridiculous.
I usually just say I'm confident or convinced.
That's a good way to say it. I'm confident, I'm convinced, I'm persuaded. Sure.
Well, can I?
And 5, 4, 3, 2. Nope, he's gone.
No, he's here.
He's here? Try it again, man. Parlez-vous français? Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Habla español, Josh.
Can I objectively know that I'm not you?
No, but you could make a good argument for not being me. I make a good argument for you not being me, in that you share things that I do not have understanding, precognition, or intuition about those experiences, and then you'll speak about them with such detail that I become very suspicious it wasn't me.
Yeah.
That is to say, I'm aware there are books that contain information, and I'm unaware that what the information is. So if that was a product of my mind, shouldn't I know what's there?
Yeah, but I feel like you're only proving that I can objectively know that subjectively I'm not you.
Well, I'm not proving anything. I'm giving subjective evidence to support that case, because I am thoroughly persuaded that you are not me, and that there is more than one mind, and there is the possibility of objective knowledge of things. I just don't believe you or I have it right now.
Is there a possibility that objectively you and I might be the same person but with different knowledge?
I mean,
Well, it's not an A equals B, or A equals not A, so it's fine. I'm not saying that's impossible. Go ahead, sir.
I mean, so one way, here's one way you can conceptualize this. Our entire reality could be somebody's dream, just a very, very incredibly detailed dream, and so we're all this person's dream, and that's it.
Whoever it is, I really like them.
Right, but I mean that's kind of that's one way to like kind of give a kind of a concrete example of what you're trying to say, I think.
And that's some theoretical concepts of God, by the way.
Sure, yeah.
Is that mind? Gee, and I
Can
thought
I
Josh was going to be all combative the way he came across at first. You can subjectively be convinced that you don't have knowledge.
You're breaking up, Josh.
That's okay. We'll just answer him the same way.
Subjectively know that I don't. Okay.
He didn't like my answer.
But Richard,
yes, sir.
I would say I would disagree with you on one thing. You said we can't have knowledge. We can have knowledge, but we can't know. We shouldn't be confident that we have that knowledge.
Okay, well, what's your definition of knowledge then? Because I thought that knowledge had to be objectively true.
Well, so my definition of knowledge is a justified true belief that's non-Gettiard. So
that's good. I like that.
I can have that because if I have a reason for believing something that is and that thing happens to be true, then that is knowledge.
But you know that's only works within an internal critique, because we can't know anything outside of experience. We don't have proof there is a universe.
Well, no.
So when we say justified true belief and say something like correspondence theory, something like that, where we say, oh, this is true in reality, and I know because what I'm trying works in that reality, thereby I am complying with the objective reality. We don't know that because we don't know that reality is there.
Yeah. So what you're missing is, I can never know that I know it. Even so, if I have a justified.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're going to say that, sure. But now you're using two different forms of the word know, and I was sticking to one.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, it's fair play. I'm objecting, really.
So.
Okay, that's why it seems to me all the ancient spiritual stories are even though anthropomorphization is occurring in most or all of the stories, very few of them don't, and some of them do. Some stay away from that. But the vast majority of them are using like human aspects to describe the God, and people not seeing that have come to believe that it has personage.
Right. Okay. Oh, I have a question for you. So your God is a set of to you, God is a set of ideals, and there's these beings that are enacting these ideals.
Sure, just like you can be a humanitarian.
Sure. Are these beings perfect? Is like the Father? Is this Father a perfect being, or is
now we have to talk about the Hebrew language? The late European cultures think of the word perfect in a certain way that the Jews did not. So is it the Jewish word perfect? Yes. Is the word perfect a decent translation of the Hebrew concept? Yes. But it means something entirely different. In the Hebrew, perfect means achieving your potential. Okay?
Okay, yeah,
So
I'm familiar
it
with
means
that.
more like being of full measure.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not the Christian concept of perfection where you could like, I don't know, Phil, you get it, right?
Yeah, I understand. I'm familiar with perfect being used the way you're describing.
Okay, roger that. Sorry I wasted your time.
No, it's fine.
So, um, the idea of our perfection is the idea that we become all that we were always meant to be, which I think has to do with non-coding genetic material more than anything else and the freedom thereof. And that those already ascended are Homo sapiens sapien in the truest sense, but no longer have genetic restriction. That is to say, they've been quickened or vivified or perfected or however your translation reads it.
Okay. Okay. So
Because that's consistent in keeping with the original ideas.
okay. So the Father, is he eternal?
Yes, ever since Adam was and Yahweh became, is eternally forward. It will always exist. It's just like if I say the word schmooploop, then that can never go away. You know, because the truth of the past is that I'd said that, and that can't be changed. So from the moment I said that and ever forward, I did say it.
Do you regret it?
Richard.
Not at all. Not yet. You'd have to force me to regret it.
Okay, I won't.
Richard,
Maybe you
I
could.
have a question for you.
Maybe.
Hey, Gigi,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question for you. Do you believe the God of the Old Testament, the bad God, but the God of the New Testament is the good
What
God?
I do believe is Christians are prejudiced, and so were the Jews, and they're very tribalistic, and they read those texts in such a way that makes themselves the hero and the God agreeing with themselves. So that God is very angry at everyone but them. Now that's
All right.
not what the text reads, but it's what the people
It
think when
sounds
they
like
read it.
it sounds like you said the guy who had these bears go after those kids. He said that wasn't God of
Yeah,
the Bible,
Elisha. Yeah.
but the devil.
That's what?
Did you say it was the
It's
devil?
it's the story of the Antichrist.
Oh.
That he does that during the end times through the power of his mentor Hashatan, the Satan. And whether that's like emitting some kind of high frequency that just drives wild animal nuts, make them attack anything, or if he just like sprays some kind of a hormone or pheromone, or poisons water sources to make them lose their mind, or maybe gives them all rabies. I don't really know how it's done, but that's who it says does it, and that's when it says it happens.
Hey guys. I appreciate the talk, Richard. It's been great talking to you. Gigi, thank you for having
You
us.
as well.
I gotta go though.
Okay.
Oh,
Talk to you later. Thank you for joining.
take
Yeah.
care, Phantom.
You
And,
too.
Adam.
Take care.
He's
and
got to go like
Bye,
Elisha
bye,
Cha
family.
Cha, the king of dance.
actually,
dang it, Poppy.
I have to